Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spiritual Readiness on the Time of the Shift. To spiritually evolve and grow, to ascend, is an act of complete defiance. It would be easier for all of us to continue to exist as being a copy of something else and be accepted and approved of by society. But to try to evolve your consciousness, to try to grow and expand yourself on the evolutionary ladder is an act of complete rebellion. You have to be completely gangster to ascend. And I mean by that because you have to question all the rules by which you operate. You have to, all of them you will have to begin to doubt them. You have to re-examine them in order to find if that foundation is inherent, if that so-called foundation that exists in the regular world is inherited, or if it is really rooted on something that's much more profound and deeper. I want to talk to you today a little bit about that process, the process of you awakening. And as you awakened, you begin to realize that things will never be the same again. I remember a spiritual teacher saying to me a long time ago, once you have awakened, you cannot go back. I'm reminded of the movie, The Matrix, when one of the people that was surrounding Neo and Morpheus' ship wanted to go back into the matrix. And the idea being, you can't go back. Once you have awakened, you cannot go back to sleep again. And I'm saying this because I want you to understand that there is a loneliness, an isolation, a kind of disconnect with the rest of the world that make you realize that the behaviors of the past cannot continue. And I have to tell you, I'm bringing it very personally to me, because I was closeted about the spiritual work that I was doing for years, although it was parallel in my life. I was having the regular job, the corporate job, the friends and social circle and all that. In secret, I was doing all the deep spiritual work without letting the two worlds collide. Yet more and more, as I begin to really grow and my spiritual evolution began to take root, I began to realize I could no longer, the schism that exists between the two was getting wider and wider. And I'm going to tell you a small incident that happened. There was a dinner party that some of my schoolmates that I went to graduate school with would throw at the end of every year. And typically very nice restaurant, we all gather together, we would eat, and all of us would catch up with each other. And I remember one year going to the dinner, and everyone going around the table, I got a new job, I'm doing this, I got a promotion, I'm doing X, Y, Z, and everyone, there was about 7 or 8 of us at the table, and when they got to me, I didn't want to say anything. And then when they got to me, people were talking, they got to me, I said nothing. And then one other former colleague said to me, "What about you, Pierre?" And I simply looked at them and I thought to myself, I could BS and say something, or I could tell the truth. And I decided I was going to say the truth. I just looked at everyone and I said, I have found my purpose. And I'm moving forward to accomplish it. You could have heard a pin drop after that sentence. There was silence in the entire room. Everybody was just looking at me. And the next thing I know, somebody else at the table said, "Could you pass me the wine?" And then it's like a spell that broke, and then the dinner continued. I have to say to you that this was the last time that I was invited to that dinner. Interestingly enough. there is a point where your old relationships will begin to no longer be satisfactory, where people will move away from you or you will part for them because you no longer share the same value. You're growing, you're expanding, and you will find that it's becoming more and more difficult to find commonality with them. You will have memories of you having a great time with them, of speaking with them, of having fun and joy, but you won't be able to continue to maintain these connections. Same thing happened with me and family members, where I would be at a family event and I would be unable to speak because every time somebody asked me a question and I begin to speak, 2 sentences in, they would just simply stop me and change the conversation and move to something else. Because what I was saying was so the antithesis of everything that they stand for that they didn't want to hear what I had to say. And honestly, I stayed as long as possible to be in the social event when I feel like uncomfortable, that is socially acceptable, and I excuse myself and walk away. And I'm saying this to you to make you understand that there is particularly when you're being authentic and true, that act of authenticity and truth is the rebellion. Because everyone else wants you to be a copy of something else. The entire institutionalized way in which the environment wants you to be, it's simply be a copy of something else. But if you're trying to really be authentic and be truthful and say your truth and live your truth, you will you will cause your truth and your authenticity will send shockwave to them and will be a judgment to them. That dinner party I was describing before, the fact that I said this became clearly something that they couldn't take anymore. And I've never spoken to them since then about this, but I was simply not invited. And I'm all right with this. I'm not saying this because I want you to feel sorry for me. This is not a pity party, but it's an observation that once you enter that spiritual path, you're going to find that the people that you can relate to have to be individuals that are on similar journeys. Thus, I highly recommend for all of you and for all my students, and by the way, this is why I created the platform on Facebook, the Wisdom Council, as a way for people all around the world who feel isolated and feel kind of disconnected to their environment because of their spiritual growth and journey. And I'm talking about authentic growth. There are lots of people out there who are pretending to be spiritual. You can go on Instagram or on mass media and you can find a whole bunch of people who are claiming to be spiritual. Everything that they are saying is derivative from something else. There's nothing authentic and true about their real journey. They just want to be popular. And they're not really giving any true value. They're using somebody else's information and value, recycling it as a way to say the right thing. And this is what I call bubblegum spirituality. But when you're really doing the right thing, even in your social media platform, you will not be accepted by the mass. Because what you're saying is so revolutionary and cause people to go so deep that they will not want to go there. And it's okay, because we know what we're doing. We are the herald, and we have to bring that light that exists within us out and to shine it so that the rest of the world can actually begin to see and begin to perceive a frequency of vibration that was not there before. I highly recommend that if you could find one other person like you to be what I call the ascension body. The same way you have a gym body, you have a running body, you need to have one other person that you can bear your soul to, and that can actually give you value back. When you're always teaching and you're always giving, you're always the one that's expending light and energy out. There comes a point where you're exhausted and you need to recharge and you need to sit and relax and let somebody else give to you reciprocally. So you need to figure out a way to find that ascension body system, a person as a way to help you. And maybe the first person that you select to have this relationship with may not be the right fit. Only time will tell. And as you do this, you can get yourself to a point where you can begin to have this honest and intimate interaction and connection with another soul. If you have it with one person, it's enough to make you feel that there is hope. Because if you feel that you're alone and you're by yourself, it can be very devastating to know that no one else is on the same frequency and has the same understanding as you. But if you can find one other person with which you can have the conversation, interaction that will be on your level without any facade, without any masks, without any smoke and mirror, it would be extremely beneficial for you to be able to have that kind of interaction. So the spiritual body system or ascension body system, I highly recommend. And short of it, join the Wisdom Council group on Facebook that I have created as I continually teach every 2 weeks the spiritual system and yoga that I teach for the attainment of ascension. And ultimately, maybe within that group, if you can friend somebody in there and be able to create that kind of connection, ascension body system. All right. That's all I have for you today. Thank you for listening to me. Please like this video, give it a thumbs up, and leave your comments below and let me know what you're thinking. Give me ideas for other types of conversation or other kind of topics you would like for me to talk about. And subscribe to the channel, and I will talk to you next week. Thank you so much. Deep love.